Afternoon. Today I'm going to be starting to remake Space Invaders using Construct Free. It's just got to be a short stream today, so hopefully get the basics of Space Invaders implemented, and then I'll carry it on over the next couple of lunchtimes until we've got a full working Space Invaders clone. So first off, we've got Construct open, so we'll start a new project. I want it to be 640 by 360. I'll just go with the retro style and the basic settings in Construct. Margins have gone a bit funny. Right, so we'll set the layout size up. We only need that to be 640 by 360 because everything's got to be displayed on the one screen. Hey Sheba, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. I'm just doing a little sort of live tutorial on how to recreate Space Invaders using Construct Free. If it proves to be successful, then may next week or the week after do the same thing but using Godot. So we'll call this layout, get things organised, and call the layout game. And we'll have the event sheet, we'll call that game as well. And we'll have another layer to the project. And another one, so we'll have one which will be have the UI on that layer. That can be the game layer, and then we'll have a background layer as well. Right, so first of all we'll get the UI imported. I'm going to be using 9 patch for the border. Add that in, and then we shall load the sprite in for that. It's on my desktop. Right, so we'll set the 9 patch up. So I think 6, and then you can drag and drop that around in the scene. I've snap to grid enabled. Reduce the grid size down to 16 and then it should hopefully all fit. Right, so that's got to be where the UI's positioned. I shall just save this. Save it anywhere for now. Nice, would be cool to see the comparison between Construct and Godot as someone who doesn't know much about either. Yeah, that's obviously I've used Construct for years and I'm new to Godot, so I'm going to hopefully use these, create something in Construct where I know how to do it, and then use the Godot part as a learning experience for myself to hopefully get quicker using Godot, because currently I'm not that confident in using it in anything with any sort of time scale to it. Right, so we'll set the background layer Set that to black. Right, next we'll go on to the game layer and we shall add a sprite in for the player. I'll open those in a sprite and then copy and paste them into the engine. So this is the player sprite that I've drawn. What size did I actually do these? 24 by 24, so copy that player sprite in. Just erase that one that I copied in by mistake. Give it a bounding box as the collider instead of the one that it's guessed at for its shape. I think 12 should be okay for the... Doesn't need to be that accurate with this type of game. I'll add that point to the bottom. Right, so there we have our player on the screen now. Hey there Richard, how are you doing? I'm doing okay, Watty, how are you? Just hopping in to say hello, gotta run to class, lol. Have a good day. No problem, cheers for dropping by. Right, so the player, we're going to give that some behaviours so that it can get the movement working pretty quickly. So the first behaviour, we've got to give it the 8 direction movement behaviour, and also we'll bound that to the layout. And we'll just set the 8 direction just to be 2 directions left and right. So if we just run that now, that'll have automatically, with construct, the behaviours, just add functionality in straight away. Right, see where it's flipping up and down there? I forgot to change one of the settings. With the 8 direction behaviour, you can set the angle of the object when you move, which we don't want to happen. So now when we move left and right, there we have the player's ship moving backwards and forwards on the bottom of the screen. It won't go off the layout to the left, it'll stop. At the moment it will go behind there, so I'll need to add something in to stop that as well at some point. Right, next up we'll get the enemies sprites imported. There were 3 different lots of enemies, so we'll get these imported. I'll imaginatively call them enemies 1, 2 and 3. Just resize that to 24 by 24 because I know that's how big they are. And first of all we'll add the enemy that's going to be at the top. It's just got 2 very simple frames of animation. And then copy the other frame in. It's kept the animation. We'll pop that to loop. preview how that looks. There we go. An animated enemy. We'll just clone that. And I'll just erase both animation frames. And then we'll cut and paste the other enemy in. Swap those around. Choose the animation. Again, with me cloning it, that's already set to loop. So there we have another one of the enemies. Drag it into the scene, and we'll clone another. Just get rid of those 2 frames. And I'll cut and paste the 3rd enemy in. Hi Josh, how are you doing? Space Invaders here, this is original IP. Yeah, I'm just got to do a few series of sort of live stream tutorials where I remake a classic game. So I'm only got to be on for about half an hour. I'll play another 25 minutes now. And then carry on over the next few lunchtimes and get a game made. And then next week I may end up doing it in the same game but using Godot. You streaming again soon, Josh? Have you got your computer set up yet? Right, so we've now got 3 different types of enemies there. What I'm going to do is create a family for the enemies so that I can reference them all together. Then that'll help with the left and right movement. And we'll call that family fan enemies. I'm not going to give them any behaviours for the movement because I'm going to move them just manually, pixel by pixel, because Space Invaders, you'll notice whenever you've played it that the aliens sort of move jerkily 1 step at a time. So I'm going to move them a set number of pixels each frame to give them that jerky movement. But what they will all need is a Boolean just to say whether they're moving left or right. So we'll give the family an instance variable. And we'll just call that moving right. Right. What happened then? One of the joys of Construct, sometimes things just disappear. May have to do quite a bit of what I've just done again because I can't remember when I saved. Nope, luckily I must have just saved not long before. The joys of actually saving regularly. So we'll add an instance variable and we'll call that moving right. And we'll initially set that to true, so they got the moving right to begin with. And also, while I'm adding instance variables, each of the different aliens will score a different value, so I'll just give them a variable called score, and for now I'll just set them all to the same. Now it could be a while with GPUs. Trying to assess how viable it would be to put my old GPU in the meantime. trying to buy a house right now as well, so keeping the large computer related purchases to a minimum. Oh, cool. Yeah, watching a stream, a guy that I know in Norway and something in the Netherlands, he'd got 7 3060 GPUs delivered. Apparently there wasn't a shortage of those over there. There were, the shop where he'd got them from still had plenty left when he'd bought them. Because he's got to make a bit mining, crypto mining setup. Hi Taid, how are you doing? Thanks for dropping by. We're just currently making a poor attempt at making Space Invaders in Construct. Right, so what we'll do is we'll start getting the enemies moving. What I'm going to do is just add a couple of objects down the side that when the enemies hit they'll change direction. So we'll just add another sprite for that. I'll just call it enemy turner. Just give that a random colour. I'll just fill that. Put the image point to the top. It's got a bounding box. So I'll just put one of these down here. Duplicate that. And add another. So when the enemies move left and right, what I'm going to do is when they hit this, get them to change direction and go back in the other way. So what we'll do, we'll check with the enemy's family collides with another object. And we'll choose the enemy turner for that. And what we'll do is just toggle that bool. So if it's moving left, they'll start going right. So what we'll do to give it the jerky movement, every X seconds we'll do the movement. So maybe every half a second. Sounds like a Clatty scalper if you ask me. Yeah. Would seem that way. Right, so where are we up to? Right, let me remember what I'm doing. So what we'll do, if they're moving right, so if the moving right is true, we will set the X position to self X plus, try 5 for now. And then we'll add an else. And if they're moving left, we'll set the X value to -5. No, I've not set them out, but hopefully they should start moving left and right. Yeah, I need to slow the animations down because I could do with that really going in time with them moving. I'm hoping when they hit that trigger they'll then go back, which they're not doing. Try and work out why that's not doing it. Set them up. Drag those over there. Right, yep, that's right, working. So I've got the aliens, they're moving left and right. When they hit the right hand side or the left hand side, they then turn and go back. Right, what we'll add next, we'll add the player's bullets. Copy that in, it's just a very basic little square. Actually, I think that's what I was planning on using for the base, so I'll just quickly draw a bullet in here. How big was that? It's 6 by 12, the player bullet, and I'll just make that white, I think. It's got a bounding box to check for collisions. And we'll give that the bullet behaviour, seeing as it's going to be a bullet. We'll give that also the destroy outside layout behaviour. And to allow the player to shoot, we'll need to add the keyboard to the project. And then we'll set up the keys. I'm currently using the default controls, but I do like to control things by actually specifying the keys. So key is down. I'll just set up the left and right movement to use those. So left and then right. Player, and then we'll simulate control. So we'll simulate the left. And we'll duplicate that there. When the right arrow's down, we'll simulate pressing right. We'll also add now on key pressed. And we'll just use the space bar for now to fire. So when that's pressed, what we want to do, we want the player to spawn another object. That being the player bullet. And we want that on the game layer. There's no hierarchy to create, it's just one single item. And then when it's spawned, what we want to do is set its angle of motion. Constructs angles, zeros to the right, so 270 will make that move upwards. So now that I've set the movement for the player, I'll just disable default controls and we'll play that and see if we've got anything firing. Right, as you saw, that bullet that was on the screen just went off. Yes, there we have bullets firing. With Space Invaders, the player can only ever have one bullet at once. I prefer doing this in Unity as well. I hate using their default input manager. Yeah, it's just you've got more control. Sometimes if you forget to turn these default controls off, then suddenly you can start moving enemies about and all sorts. Would much rather hold some key codes on a script. Something, yeah, definitely. Gets a bit more complicated if you want analog stick stuff. Yeah, Construct again though, it's got a gamepad plugin which you just add in, which straight away into the events. You could make that, I think, just make that an OR block, add another condition to it, and you can just compare that the axis. So get the left axis obviously greater than 0, then that would seem be the same as doing your right movement. So it's pretty straightforward construct. It adds lots of functionality really just out of the box. Right, so we can only spawn one bullet. What we'll do to the player, we'll add another instance variable, and just call it can fire, and we'll initially set that to true so that the player can fire initially. We'll add another condition to this, that when they press the space, we will check whether that bull's set. And then in here we'll set it to false so that the player can't fire again until we reset it. So if we now play that, the player should only be able to fire the one bullet, which they can, and now they can't fire anymore. So there's a on destroy thing, so whenever that bullet gets destroyed, because it could get destroyed when it hits the enemies, when it goes off screen, or when it hits one of the enemy's bullets. What we'll do is set that back to true. So now if we play it again, player fires, and when it gets destroyed, because we added the behaviour to destroy it when it goes off the layout, they can then fire another, but they can only fire one at once. Right, so what could we do next is when the aliens get to the end, we need them to move down. So what I'll do, I'm going to set a global variable for to control that. So let's call it alien move down. Make that a bool, and we'll have that as false initially. Can you return angle direction vectors from the stick? I think you can. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can, but I think you'd have to do it sort of within some code within the actual things that you're doing. Right, so what we'll do when let's move this logic down here. So when the enemies get to end in it, that turner, we then want them to move down as well. So we'll set that bool that we just set to true. And then it'll be true here, so just somewhere a bit lower down. Move that to the top out of the way for now. We will then check that bool. So let's see if alien move down's set. And then if it is, we'll do a for each. And we'll set their Y value. To self Y, and we'll set that to +5 for now. And we'll also set the spool back to false. So we only want that to happen once. So that should now, when the enemies get to the end, should, as well as turning, yep, as you saw, they move down slightly. But we could probably do just slowing this animation down on these enemies a little bit. I think that's twice a second that place, so as we're moving them every half second, that should hopefully mean that they only change along with the movement. Yep, that looks a lot better there. The animations are in time with the movement. You're going for a straight one-to-one recreation. Yeah, that's sort of the idea of these, Josh. I'm just going to try and just recreate as near as possible to the original. There may be slight things that are different. Like when I'm going to do the enemy bases, I'm just going to make them up out of a few individual sprites. I know that's probably not exactly how it was done originally, but it's just a sort of a cheap way. But yeah, I'm going to have the flying saucers coming on the top, and I'm going to make it so that they start speeding up as they go further on. I've just got a few minutes left today before I need to get back to work, so I will just go about adding some more of these aliens in so that it starts looking more like Space Invaders does at the beginning. And then I think I'll have another line of those ones. Move that off. If I move that off the layout at the beginning, it'll get destroyed straight away as soon as the level starts. So that'll stop my problem of a bullet flying across the screen. I think another 4 should be enough. Let's take a look. Right, I've got a slight bug there. It's only changing them when they actually hit. So what have I done wrong? Right, I think what I need to add in here is a for each. I'm hoping that'll fix it. If not, I'll have to have a quick look off stream and then let you know tomorrow. Yeah, why is that not doing it? So every half second for each enemy that's in the family, which is all of them, if family enemies moving right, set X. There's that. Clearly don't know. Right, maybe it's here where I needed the for each. If that doesn't work, I will have to have a look off stream. Yeah, I've done something wrong there. Right. Well, I've run out of time today, but what I'll do, I'll have a look at that and then I'll start off tomorrow with how to fix that. True recreation would link the alien speed to frame rate. Yeah, it'll just be... It's got to be sort of my own recreation, really. Know about that little bit of law. Yeah. But as I say, that's it for today. So thanks everyone for stopping by, and I'm going to stream tomorrow, probably around about the same time, around about 12 o'clock. Try and get a bit further with this, and I'll try and sort this bug out, ready to show you tomorrow how to do things properly.